Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first ever North Node live session. I am here with Angie Dahlof. I'm Maggie Kirkwood, and we are so thrilled to finally be able to kind of have a platform like this where truly we just really want to come together. Mainly to talk about medicine and mental health and just create a space where we can share education and kind of just really come together in community. And there's so much to be covered. And we're just thrilled to be here today. Thank you, Angie, for joining. How are you doing on this swell hump day?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Maggie. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to share this information with people. And thanks to everyone who's on. We can just move right into it. But
I wanted to
want to talk a little bit more about these webinars, Mag?
Yeah, first of all, wanted to say huge gratitude and thank you for anyone tuning in today. This is our kind of first go at this live format, so bear with us. But if you wanted to take a moment to just say hi, there's a comment section and drop a line where you're tuning in from. I see William is already joining us. Thank you, William, for tuning in. But yeah, I think we just have a little bit of a flow and we really want to kind of cover broad view. We really want to talk and discuss psilocybin. And we would love to kind of get intimate and share some stories and also, just really dive into the science behind microdosing and the practice. And then we're going to have a lot of time for Q&A as well. So thanks again for tuning in. And Ange, I might have you kind of dive in with this first slide.
Sure. So let's just start with what if we kind of got this wrong? I think for decades, psychedelic mushrooms have been treated as kind of a punchline. Today, they're being studied at institutions like Johns Hopkins, NYU, honestly, universities all over the world. So the question is no longer, are people even interested or curious? It's more like, what is the research saying? We need more research, and we'll talk about that too. But what does the science say about psilocybin? And so I'm going to get into that a little bit. So that we have a good background and understanding before we talk about why we would microdose. So Meg, why don't you pull up slide 2 when you're ready?
Yes. And for the participants, if you wanted to let us know if you are willing to, I'd love to hear who's experienced with using psilocybin. And it's just good to know. We're trying to gauge experience level and how many questions we might have. So yes, here now we're moving into what exactly are psilocybin mushrooms, or what is psilocybin, Ange?
Okay, so psilocybin is what is mushrooms are contained. This is psilocybin. It's a compound that is in mushrooms. Once we eat these mushrooms, it converts to psilocin inside of our body. And what psilocin does is it basically interacts with serotonin receptors in our brain, specifically the 5-HT2A receptor in our brain. So classic psychedelics are kind of like a doorway to mood, perception, ego, kind of a lot of our, how we shape the world around us and bring meaning to the world around us. And this is where mushrooms can become super beneficial with kind of how we feel and our health and how we feel about ourselves. And I'll get into the next slide, which talks a little bit more also about the mechanism of this. So first, to go back, like, this is not a new discovery. People have been doing this for eons. I need to acknowledge that indigenous people have been using this medicine long before we were born or we were even here. And they've used it ceremoniously and respectfully. And so we don't want to, turn this into something it's not. Research on psilocybin started in the 1950s here in the United States, and they were making really good headway. Sadly, in the 1970s, research stopped with all of these medicines being classified as Schedule 1. And honestly, there's been a prohibition. And so unless you've been working with this medicine underground, you haven't either been able to work with it, and there certainly hasn't been any good research behind it. So in the early 2000s is when research started to kick back in. So this is when Johns Hopkins first started some of the research that they did. Roland Griffiths was a PhD professor there who really was on the forefront of this. And they were also the first ones to receive a federal grant to start studying this stuff. So leads us to today, where the research is moving at a very fast pace. The FDA has fast-tracked most of these psychedelics. And we're at a point right now where the interest, curiosity, and research is moving forward, and we're kind of waiting for the laws to all line up, both federally and on a state level.
Thank you, Ange. And, I just like to point out a couple things. I believe, when in the Nixon era, kind of the crackdown, the war on drugs, there were preliminary research and findings about these medicines already showing really good promise for mental health and mental health disorders. And so I kind of like to look at the timeline when it involves, especially psilocybin. You've got that first wave, ancient civilizations, and that second wave really was in the 50s and the 60s, when it was a little wild and not really understood, and then it was shut down for so long. And so now here we are in what I like to call the third wave, and it's really just, I think one word you're not going to hear us say much on this show is the word safe, because nothing is safe. And I think that the way we want to talk about all of this is really just with responsibility and intention. And so just something to keep in mind along the way. Anyway, did you need me to pull up the next slide?
Yes, please do. Okay, so back to our brains. Our brains have a default mode network, which is active during self-reflection. And this, it helps create a sense of self, right? An internal narration, which we also call our ego. This is like a good reference to like who we feel we are and what we feel how we kind of interact with the world around us. So psilocybin, when it attaches to the 5-HT2A receptor, is kind of a doorway into this pattern of how we think and how we feel. And so psilocybin can loosen habitual patterns, a lot of things that have kind of set into our person as like, this is who I am. It can be all shaken up when we introduce something like psilocybin to our bodies. And a lot of people find that this is where our brains become a little bit neuroplastic. We allow ourselves to actually start to change some of the patterns that we have set in our life. A lot of times we get out of that rigidity, and we figure, it allows ourselves to see like, maybe this isn't the right way. Maybe there's other ways about going about doing this. And this all is a mechanism that is happening in our brain. And science has proven this, that these connections do happen. And there are actual brain scans that show the connectivity between different parts of your brain when someone is on psilocybin is quite active, where when someone is not, there's just not a lot of connectivity going on there.
And yes, just to reiterate, regarding the default mode network, it really is that constant chatter, that constant voice, the habitual things subconsciously that we do. And so at its very basic level, there's just some disruption there. And what a beautiful graphic, Ange. I just am in awe of the 5-HT2A receptor. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I'm going to go on to the next one. I mean, I think, Maggie, just to your point, is that we have these constructs in our life of how we believe the world to be, and certainly the introduction of psilocybin is going to shake that up, and that's something that can bring to a lot of perspective shifts. So right onto the next slide. So brain regions that don't normally communicate are now more connected once we are on psilocybin. Researchers are calling this like global connectivity, as we're thinking of our brain as like a globe. And early studies are suggesting that like you're more flexible in your thinking, you're more flexible with your patterns, and neuroplasticity is happening. And so this is the ability to start using parts of our brain that we don't usually use, or making connections that we haven't made before. Again, allowing us to change our patterns. And so, again, we talk about this. A lot of the research is done on macrodoses. So most of the science is done on macrodoses. There's not as much on microdoses, but we'll get to a little bit more on that in a minute. But the safety totally is surprising for people. This is one of my favorite slides to show. It's a comparative harm study on multiple drugs. The top being alcohol is considered like the most harmful to others and the most harmful to self. Going down the list, you have heroin, cocaine, tobacco, amphetamines, cannabis, LSD, and the very, very bottom, psilocybin mushrooms. So psilocybin is literally the least harmful of all of these and many others. This is just a small list. It is considered, very, very safe, considerably. And also just want to keep in mind that lower harm does not mean it's harmless. But if you compare this to alcohol, even sugar, we're looking at a harm ranking that's considerably lower. And so what does that mean? So there is no lethal dose of psilocybin to humans. It's completely low addiction potential compared to opioids, nicotine, or alcohol, and even sugar. It's just not addictive. Alcohol contributes to like nearly 180,000 annual deaths in the U.S. alone, which is just a shocking and staggering statistic. And tobacco remains the leading cause of death globally. And the beauty of all of this, because this is just staggering and kind of unimaginable, is that microdosing, which we're going to get into, can actually be a cessation for things like tobacco and alcohol and sugar. So this might actually be a combatant to some of these terrible, addictions that people do have.
Absolutely. I mean, I can speak to that, and I will in time. But what is so shocking to me is when I was battling alcohol withdrawal. Alcohol withdrawal is the one that can kill you. I think if you, it can lead to these absurd like hallucinations and things, and I think, it's a whole nother episode, but yeah, really, not only exploring your relationship with alcohol, but physically feeling better or working with the medicine to make shifts and changes, physically, and not craving it. It's just absolutely magical in my book.
It truly is, Maggie. I'm wondering if we could put out a question to the listeners about if anyone has tried microdosing. I'd be really curious to know.
And we did get a question from William. I'm just trying to read it.
Yeah.
Okay. What kinds of studies are researchers conducting right now that you're most excited about? Well, let's see here. I think what was, not pun intended, trumped any sort of kind of research or finding was when Donald Trump, the current president, wrote this executive order just kind of demanding the expediting of research and findings for psilocybin and ibogaine, another plant medicine that has proven really great for addiction, especially opioid addiction. And so, I know I have different organizations such as MAPS that's always doing such wonderful work. I know that there's some, many, I think, research things happening locally in Minnesota here. I believe that there's some things happening, but overall, I was just really most excited about Donald Trump writing an executive order that just kind of, the prohibition is crumbling, and more conversations like this are hopefully happening. And thank you for your question, William.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, so Johns Hopkins is doing a research right now on like, does your trip matter? So that's kind of what it's called.
Yeah.
So they're really curious about set and setting. They're wondering, like, it's a clinical study kind of investigating one of the most like whether effects of psychedelics, like the trip itself, are necessary for enduring the benefits. And so I think that kind of plays right into what we're talking about today. Like, do you need a macrodose in order to receive the benefits of psilocybin? So that's the current research going on right now at Johns Hopkins. And it'll be super interesting to see, because right now there's so much more research done on macrodosing and not as much done on microdosing. We do know that there's something still happening there when we're on a smaller amount of a substance, but is it as profound, and do the changes still occur? And so research, that's like honestly one study right now that's super fascinating to me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Ange.
Yeah, for sure. Did we get any, like, I just want to make sure that where we're receiving all of this, but let's go back to the research returning, because we're talking about it right now, William. So obviously Johns Hopkins, NYU, Imperial College of London, they're all doing research right now. Even the University of Minnesota is doing research right now on psilocybin and other psychedelics. And it's just like super focused on, honestly, acute issues like PTSD, addiction, end of life anxiety. They're looking at it for ADHD. They're looking at it for eating disorders. I mean, they're really diving in here for so many different things. And they're obviously, you can sign up for some of these research studies if you go to any of these, the websites for any of these universities. But basically, we are now moving from this being such a fringe thing to we're moving this to like legitimate scientific research. And again, we'll put out there everything we know, but this is a moving thing and it's ever evolving. And so, today talking about microdosing, we're going to share experiences. We're going to share, where people are and like lived experiences. Unfortunately, the research hasn't quite caught up yet.
Yeah, and I do see the one comment from Andrew here, kind of talking about a structured practice of microdosing. I definitely want to go there. I don't know if now is a good time, Ange, if we...
Yeah, we certainly can. I'm just quickly, I'm going to quickly add a few more slides here for us to get to, but let's talk about microdosing, and let's talk about why people use it and maybe some protocols around it. So if you flip to the next slide, Maggie, we can talk about one of the biggest reasons we understand people is, the number 2, Maggie, that's the third one, the one right before it. There we go. So mood, anxiety, and stress are some of the most frequently discussed reasons people want to microdose. And, people are describing that taking a microdose can make them feel a little bit less heavy. They can access things a little bit easier without feeling the stress of it. They can lift their mood up. They can have less rumination. They can feel a little bit more calm. Often this helps people who feel a little bit stressed or burnt out. And I can speak to this alone for myself. Microdosing has helped me immensely with all 3 of these. And Maggie and I work with clients a lot on in this specific area alone.
Yes, I think at its baseline kind of use, I guess, it's I hear a lot of clients just reporting back almost just this feeling of the edge has taken out. They've taken the edge off, sorry. And it's like what used to kind of consume the mind. It's not necessarily that it's no longer consuming the mind, but they're more aware around their patterns and behaviors with allowing themselves to worry. So I don't know how to, it's almost like this lightening effect is what is reported back.
Mhm.
And I think one of the most, biggest points that I'd like to make around microdosing is there really should be zero to very little intoxication level at all. So if you're not feeling anything, you're doing it right. If
Yes.
if you're feeling, I'm someone who my microdose is probably on the higher end, and we will get into this, but I do appreciate feeling what I like to call a little hug from the universe, and that's it. There's no visuals or any intoxication levels, and I go about my day as I would. I choose activities that I enjoy doing, but whether it's going to the gym or a coffee meeting or essentially working and driving, those are things we should all be able to do, whether we're on a microdosing protocol or not.
Yeah. Somebody asked about, different protocols or practicing of microdosing. And I can say that, we'll get to this at the end, a few different protocols. Everybody's different. And that is one thing that I think is, if you go to number 3, Maggie, that's close. That's 6. You're going backwards, but we can stay here. It works. Okay. It works. So here's another reason that people often will start microdosing is just headaches, pain, or sleep. So migraine headaches, that people have seen a lot of help here. I do not suffer from migraines, but I can tell you what I've heard is that, when you have a migraine, I have had a migraine once, and it was when I was pregnant, but is that the pressure, and I think it has a lot to do with the vessels in your brain. And so when we are on something such as psilocybin, we're actually opening up pathways and opening up brain connections. And so people have seen a lot of relief with their migraine headaches, which can be completely debilitating. And that, wraps into chronic pain, body tension, sleep. This microdosing and finding the right protocol for you, which we'll talk about, can alleviate and has shown to alleviate. And these are in life studies, not these are like personal recommendations, but all these studies are currently going on right now. But it can help, people with a lot of things. Maggie has talked about, how it's helped her get off of alcohol. And so that the slide before this, we can talk about that too, or like habits and cravings can also be curbed when taking a microdose. So alcohol use, compulsive habits, tobacco, and nicotine. Maggie and I have both worked with clients who have been able to lessen or completely eliminate alcohol use with microdosing psilocybin. And Maggie, do you want to speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, we kind of had a real-time conversation yesterday with real-time clients that we're working with. And I think something that I'm reminded about working with psilocybin was, for me, it was so remarkable that I was really working with a very low dose of psilocybin. It was 0.5 gram for about 5 days. So 0.5 gram compared to 3.5 grams or, and higher for a macro large dose situation. So anyway, this low dose amount, it really was about finding this balance where I felt, that the medicine was supporting me. And to me, I like to say, almost like getting a gentle hug or receiving a gentle hug. And then also just providing this level of me being able to kind of inner journey and go inward, but not in a way where I'm sitting with, journeying for 4 to 6 hours. This was at the micro level dose. And so Angie is we were talking about just the idea of, again, using the microdose really to just kind of take that edge off. So what I learned to do, rather than reaching for wine during those 5 days, I reached for my 0.5 gram microdose. And it was this beautiful dose for me that allowed me to kind of just relax and be open to kind of like explore this kind of unfolding of my relationship with alcohol and the behaviors and the patterns that I was making when I was drinking, and what I was avoiding, and all of these things. And that was not a macrodose large journey experience. So that's what I like to share. It's at this micro level. It's no hallucinating, and it's really the light micro shifts and illuminations that come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we can, there's a few other trauma and rumination is one other thing. And Maggie, if you're able to pull that up, but like number 7, if are you able to pull up slide 7?
Okay, 6. I think it's this one.
Yeah, here we go. So just some simple takeaways about this is that, the most commonly reported areas for improvement: mood, anxiety, stress, trauma patterns, cravings, headaches, pain, and sleep. These are all like people are living day in, day out, taking microdoses and receiving amazing benefits for all of these reasons. And it's basically all the reports are coming from, they're self-reported. So the observational research is being done. And, we're just a little bit ahead of the curve here. So it's hard. I can't just say, Johns Hopkins has proven that microdosing does this, but they're working on it because there's self-reporting out there from all over the globe. It's not obviously for everybody. And, just want to make sure that we stay curious and that we educate ourselves. I'd really like to get into maybe talking about some protocols for taking this microdosing. I know Maggie and I have different protocols. Most people I work with end up finding a place for themselves that is different from mine and works for them. Mm-hmm. Going back to let's just talk about to work with the alcohol, cessation of mm-hmm. alcohol, or wanting the cravings of alcohol. Maggie has informed me that it's super beneficial to take it, 35 to 40 minutes before you go to grab that drink. And that would be mostly in the evening for a lot of people, I think, right before happy hour. And that often that is super helpful for people. I take my microdose in the morning. I take, and, just to speak personally, I take it 4 days a week, and then I take 3 days off.
Wow.
And I think, Maggie, what's your protocol?
Well, let's see here. I'm just going to kind of back it up a little. I think what I've learned regarding microdosing is it really does come down to the intention. So for me, when I was struggling with alcohol and knowing and wanting to quit drinking and knowing I probably had to, that protocol was certainly very different than other protocols I've established for myself, if that makes any sense. So that was like a 5-day experience with half a gram. And that's a high microdose, so probably one you wouldn't be driving around with. But anyway, my point being is I think that's why working with a coach can be very helpful, because I think everybody not only is so vastly different, but the shifts and, their goals are wildly different from one another. So I think lately, my protocol for microdosing is more about cultivating creativity and connection and kind of the lighter and brighter side, and not necessarily exploring my addictions, right? So I really like to do a 2-day on and 1 day off, but I really just try and remember anytime I'm partaking in a microdosing protocol, it's really about consistency. So no matter if our protocol is 3 days on, 1 day off, or 3 days on, 4 days off, whatever, we really want to commit to at least 4 weeks, if not, I think 6 weeks is really that beautiful point where you can see some massive shift and change as these microdoses slowly accumulate behind the scenes. And so for me, I like to be a little bit more intuitive about my microdose. So I do have a happy hour dose, which I can share later, but all towards the micro end, on the micro side of things. And, using, as you work with the medicine, I think it is something that you can kind of listen to your body and intuition around when it works best for you and when to take it.
Yeah, Maggie, you're so right. I think having, your questions to ask yourself if you go about this is, why are you curious? What am I hoping will change? Do I have support around this? What am I trying to avoid, or what do I want to, get into? There's these like great questions that you can ask yourself as you get into taking a microdose. So intention is so important. I also think that the work afterwards is really important too. And Maggie and I talk about integration a lot. So reflecting on, what am I hoping microdose did for me?
Oh shoot, Anne, you're kind of breaking up there, girl.
I know. I'm sorry. There is a storm. I'm in the middle of a rainstorm.
Oh man. I think I caught the most important word, which was integration. So I'll just pick it up for a moment and maybe we'll see. But yes, I think, and I wanted to really touch on the creation and vision behind North Node. I think that we have just been, both Angie and myself, just craving space again where we can continue learning. We feel so honored to have been affected and impacted so beautifully by psilocybin. So it's how can we kind of like continue these conversations. And anytime you're working with the medicine or anytime in life, you can have profound happenings and sad happenings. And I think that the more we're learning about healing, it's about, honoring these experiences. So whether that's journeying and having profound insights, where we're trying to create space where integration can happen. So where you're able to honor your experience, but that's really where the work begins. So that's the integration piece. So working to incorporate and remember and honor any sort of journey, and then kind of maintaining this kind of golden thread and really trying to weave in some of the insights into your daily life. And that's the integration piece. And integration truly is a never-ending process. And I think that all in all, if you're working with medicine or not, integration is just something that needs to be, or we're hoping people are more aware of the fact that how key integrating is.
True.
Are you
hear
back
me
now?
Am I back? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. We're kind of storming where I am right now.
It's just a little funky sounding. Let's see here. Do you want to try to finish where you were going?
Yes.
See how
well,
you sound?
I was trying to get to the integration piece. I think that you touched on that pretty well right there. Honestly, just also want to talk about going back to, please let me know if I cut out again, that microdosing should be sub-perceptual. Yeah, you can, like Maggie said, feel a little bit of the medicine, but the hope is that it is happening behind the scenes so that you are actually able to go on and operate as you normally would. And the work is kind of happening, behind the scenes so that you can, like, for example, I often say, I can still drive a car. I can still go to work, that kind of thing. Am I cutting out again, Maggie?
Slightly, but I want to jump in here. Agreed. I like to say along similar lines that we really should be able to go about our day when we're having our microdose and do all the things that we normally would. However, I do believe when you commit to a microdosing protocol of, upwards of 4-6 weeks, and you're expecting transformation, you can expect some work. And what I mean with work is, I believe that whether we're taking microdoses or macro, the medicine provides us with these illuminations or insights, which sometimes might be a little uncomfortable. But I think the idea is that doesn't mean you're intoxicated. That's you facing usually what's been shoved down and tried to be forgotten about. So I think to say that committing to a microdosing protocol, it's a little like joining a, I guess, mental health gymnasium. I think that if you're expecting to walk in the doors in one way and, exit, this is not about becoming anyone new. Let's be clear about that. But this is really kind of remembering who we are, and the medicine helps us do that. And but anytime we're looking for transformation, I think that you have to be willing to meet halfway. And that's the big piece of working with psilocybin, is meeting it halfway. It's going to illuminate, but you're going to have to meet it halfway as well.
That's said so well, Maggie. Said so well.
On
my hair, on my back.
You're back. You're 82% back, I would say. I think we're cruising on time here, but I'm wondering. I wouldn't mind sharing a story or two of
Please
success.
do. I'm happy to share too. I'm just cutting in and out. So why don't you start?
All righty. Yeah, I think something that I'm reminded with over and over with this medicine, and specific to microdosing, is really the amount of regulation a small dose can provide us. So whether it's working with women and their monthly cycles, or just trying to get or maintain a more regulated nervous system, I think at the very kind of like baseline, that's what microdosing can provide us. And I think that once we've kind of, well, at least in my case, when I started learning and operating with a more regulated nervous system, that's really like what opens the doors to, more shifts. And so it really starts there. And I think that is what I find so beautiful. Again, I touched on it earlier, but just for so many people that I've been working with, for whatever reason, they have not been able to feel just kind of that sigh of relief, or just, just not as much pressure. And I think we forget that we can feel better. And I think a lot of this is really about giving yourself permission to feel better. I think that we get caught up in this chaotic world, and at some point it catches up with us, and we're allowed to feel good, people. We're allowed to take pause. We're allowed to stop, like force, rush, and just kind of sit. And I think this medicine helps us to do that, because it provides a little bit more access. And then we can start learning about working with the medicine, and learning with our energy and fields. And it's just really a great access point, and a great, beautiful tool for us to have. And I think that, as we continue hosting this show and having you guys, both of our lives were tremendously impacted by this medicine. And as Angie had, all these beautiful slides up, we're talking anything from, yes, addiction to depression to literal health issues, inflammation. Angie's got, story after story. So the goal of this show is really to, just again, hold conversation and space for all of it. I know some participants in the chat today have amazing stories to share. And I think that this isn't just about psilocybin. It is about psilocybin is one modality that's so beautifully interwoven to so many aspects that we're, it's just that we're going to touch on, hopefully. And do you want to chime in here? And maybe the storms.
Yes. The storm is rolling through. If you can hear me, Maggie, I think that talking about this being one modality is super important. It is just a tool for our toolbox. And so that's something to keep in mind, is that it's the thoughtfulness of it. This is not a magic bullet by any means. And it's something that we need to work on and hold space and hold each other's hands. I'm cutting out, aren't I?
Okay. I got it. Thank you. I think that Anne just saying it is not, the magic bullet, which, again, as we kind of keep up with this show, we're definitely going to be talking about, I think with microdosing, yes, people do expect, kind of magic to happen. But again, it's meeting it that way. And then also just learning about how full spectrum this medicine is. So yeah, we talk about microdosing and micro shifts, and then we talk about, macro dosing and just what a difference that experience is compared to a low dose micro scenario. And I think in this space, people get a little caught up like between the micro and the macro, and there's this whole world. It's a beautiful full spectrum medicine. And you don't always need to be consuming multiple grams to have profound experiences. It truly is about learning to work, and really learning meditation and about altered states altogether. So I see a question popped up. Oh, I don't think anybody's, maybe I'm the only one losing you.
Oh, thank you.
Are you losing me, William? Am I the one?
Maybe we're losing you. There is an incredible rainstorm right now. I wish I could turn my computer and show. It's actually quite beautiful what's coming down right now. So if you can hear me, that's what's happening. Maggie, you've done a beautiful job. So you don't need me anyway.
It could be me. Let's see here. So yeah, I kind of just really would love to open, the floor to anyone to ask away if there's any. Oh, William, you're the best. He's saying the connection's been fabulous.
We like William. That's great. It's just Maggie and I are not synergistic right now, apparently. I think one question that I know gets posed to me a lot, and I'll just start with this, is, and I think this was kind of asked a little bit forward, like, how do I know what to start with, right? Mm-hmm. And Maggie and I, we're not going to give out dosing right now, but that's something that we as coaches can help with, where to start, and how much and how to go about this. But I often say to people, the first time you microdose, try it on a day that you don't have a lot going on, right? So I say a Saturday or a Sunday, see how your body reacts to it, what happens. Most people will say the colors seemed a little bit brighter, everything felt a little bit less heavy. Everyone has a slightly different take on it, but I think that one question people ask is when do I start and how do I start? And that's something that Maggie and I can help people with a lot. I think that having a coach is so paramount to a lot of the work that gets done. It's someone that can hold space for you, that can walk you through and answer questions. Maggie is phenomenal at that, and really, truly, like having a community. And that's something that Maggie and I are really passionate about building.
Thank you, Angie. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just regarding, coaching, yes, but just community around working with this medicine, because I want to reiterate, for me, I believe that, without that piece, it's, I just am remembering back from when I started working with this medicine, and I had some profound happenings that I kind of just dismissed. And I'm a little sad about it because, it was almost like I was embarrassed, or I felt like I was doing something wrong, or I'm going to be judged, or, and, and here I literally was having some of the most important and impactful experiences, and just, second guessing it. And I think when we talk about this space, yeah, I think there's so many of us that, and regardless if they're using medicine or not, again, getting back to this, where we all just have profound happenings, and just really creating community and feeling okay with sharing about your awesomeness. And we as humans, we have so many gifts that I think in this modern day and age, we've just forgotten and suppressed. And I just am amped about having any conversation about, owning our humanness and this experience. And I just feel that I'm so compelled to share something that's helped me absolutely tremendously. And, it comes from our earth.
Yes, it does, Maggie. It does. Another question that often gets asked is, why can't I do this every day? And you certainly could, but we do, as humans, build up a tolerance to psilocybin, much like we do alcohol or sugar, really most things we introduce into our bodies. So having a protocol where you are actually taking days off or weeks off is super important. And again, there's different protocols and different ways of going about this. So, and again, having somebody walk you through this, someone who is coached and also maybe certified like Maggie is, to walk you through all the different avenues, but can continue the line of conversation, to ask about what you're experiencing and what's coming up and how to move forward with that. So that's another question I get a lot is, how often and if I could do it every day, or, why is it one way or the other? And there's different reasons for doing different protocols.
I'll throw in on that. I mean, for me, I think when it comes to working with psilocybin, especially for addiction, I think it's really about, you're never going to find anywhere in the world other than from people who have lived experiences and ideas about how the medicine can help you with your addiction. But I believe that you should allow yourself the window of time that feels supported with medicine. So, it really does become this intuitive thing, but you remember it's impossible to be physically addicted to psilocybin. And it really is it can be a big self-exploration. So again, everybody is so different. We all have different sensitivities. We all identify with our traumas differently, so it's really starting low and going slow, which is so beautiful because you can do that with psilocybin. So you have people who do actually, I hear they do microdose every single day, but they're taking like 0.015, the smallest speckle amount each day. And then I hear of people who microdose 3 times a day. So if they're really trying to make a major shift, I think this is, I have clients, and I have never microdosed multiple times a day, but there are people that do the morning, noon, and night protocol just to kind of it's a smaller microdose, but it just kind of helps to keep the balance throughout the day. So, I think what I love is North Node truly is a place for exploration with intention. And I think that everybody has a different story about how medicine has helped them. And psilocybin is definitely my calling, but there's a whole family of other medicines and whole another set of episodes.
Yeah, we have a lot of episodes coming up.
Alrighty. Well, Anybody have any questions they want to drop in? Maybe I'm trying to see if there's other places I should.
We answered quite a bit of them. Let's see.
Yeah.
Are you seeing? You might be seeing questions I'm not, Maggie.
I think I can only see him on this chat, but
we're new.
new. Yeah, and I also want to pose a question. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. We're totally open to suggestions around topic ideas.
Yes.
We've got a good grip on, where we want to go, but we just, again, want to hear from everybody. If there's future ideas, future suggestions, please send us a note. Otherwise, yeah, I just really wanted to take this first kind of opportunity to talk more about North Node and really get into kind of the nitty gritty on what exactly psilocybin is and how do we microdose it.
Love it. So check out explorenorthnode.com if you haven't already. Share it with your friends. Maggie's constantly updating our lovely website, which thank you, Maggie.
You're welcome.
Such a great job on it.
Thank you. And by the way, you sound great right now.
Because I microdose.
I was going to just say, might as well call out a few happenings. We've got July 1st for women only. We have Afterglow, which is a ceremonial sauna experience, exploring ceremonial tea. And we're starting with the ladies, and I believe there's only 3 spots left now. And we're actively working on men's group version. So keep your eyes open for, all of that can be found on explorenorthnode.com. And I think that's all I got for events for the moment. But yeah, we are working on some retreat ideas, most likely happening in Boulder, Colorado. So there is a spot on the website if you're interested to join the wait list for when things start unfolding. Feel free to jump on that wait list and we'll keep you posted. And no, I just really want to take one last second to say thank you to everyone who tuned in. I know we had, or maybe we didn't have some technical glitches, but maybe we did. And we look forward to keeping this up. Well, I do. And thank you for participating. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you for bearing with us. And Ange, I love you, sister.
I love you too, girl.
You rocked your slideshow. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Here's to next week and the week after.
All right, everyone. Oh, and yeah, just one shameless plug. I think we are coaches. So, I love any sort of question, feel free. We're not shy. If you've got questions and want to connect further, you can visit the website and reach out. We're both available that way as well. So thank you, folks. This has been fun. I appreciate it.
Now we just have to figure out how to turn it off.